Worried about gout? Check out Ulul, the effective urinary alkalinizer. Ulul, neutralize your uric acid problem now.
This is KiniNews and I'm your host Prasad. A group of Taman Sri Muda flood victims wanted to hand Najib Abdul Razak a memorandum to demand for more aid from the government. But instead, they were made to hold pro-Najib placards. An NGO in Taman Sri Muda has explained that confusion was what led to flood victims attending a gathering in support of former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak. This came following allegations that flood victims were duped into attending the event after photos spread on social media. In the photos, senior citizens were seen holding placards that read "Stop the prosecution of Najib, Tangkap Zeti, Bebas Najib, and we don't want PRN, we want PRU." Persatuan Penjaja and Peniaga Kecil Taman Sri Muda Seksyen 25 chairperson N Sivakumar explained that he had mobilised flood victims to go to the World Trade Center in Kuala Lumpur to submit a memorandum to demand more aid. He said they had intended to submit the memorandum to Najib through Persatuan Sahabat Ulul Amri, the organiser of the event. Sivakumar said the placards had been given out to flood victims who were in the same venue without the organisers knowing their affiliation. Meanwhile, Persatuan Sahabat Ulul Amri Malaysia President Syed Muhammad Imran Syed Abdul Aziz said the presence of Sivakumar's group at the event was only to submit a memorandum. He also stressed there was never any promise of flood aid or money. He added that around 4,000 people had attended the event and only 10% were made up of flood victims. When the Kelantan Forestry Department Director said deforested areas are actually good for tigers, do you think he confused tiger for his pet cat? One lawmaker thinks so. Kepong MP Lim Lip Eng has slammed the Kelantan's Forestry Department Director Abdul Kalim Abu Sama for saying that deforested areas are actually good for the tiger population. In a statement today, Lim said Kalim must be dreaming of his cat at home. Lim cited the National Geographic saying 80% of Earth's land animals and plants live in forests and deforestation threatens species, including the Sumatran tiger. He added that according to the World Wildlife Fund, 93% of historical tigerlands have disappeared, primarily because of expanding human activity. He said saving tigers means saving forests that are vital to the health of the planet. Yesterday, Kalim argued that areas that are deforested are actually good for tigers. He claimed that after an area is deforested, new vegetation will grow, which will encourage the presence of new animal species that serve as food to tigers. This was amid the spotlight on a recent tiger attack on an orang asli, which the community has blamed on a loss of habitat due to logging. Lim warned that should Kalim's views go unchallenged, the country risks being viewed as a laughingstock to the rest of the world. Amna wants to go solo, but PAS is hoping to rekindle their old romance in Johor. Johor BN wants to go solo in the state election and contest all 56 seats without cooperating with any other party outside the coalition. However, Johor PAS is hoping to meet State UMNO Chief Hasni Muhammad to discuss their pact. According to Harakat Daily, Johor PAS Commissioner Abdullah Hussein has requested to meet Hasni, but the incumbent Johor Menteri Besar has not been free. Abdullah also reportedly said that Hasni's statement was only the state UMNO leadership's opinion and any decision on cooperation would still be made by the national UMNO and PAS leadership. He said Johor PAS is open to discussions with UMNO and BN, but indicated they are ready to face the electorate nevertheless. During the 2018 elections for the Johor Legislative Assembly, PAS fielded 40 candidates, only one was successful. PAS and UMNO forged the Muafakat Alliance in September 2019. However, the alliance eventually fell apart during the Melaka elections last November. PAS is still supporting UMNO's Ismail Sabri Yaakob as Prime Minister in Parliament. DAP says the banks are doing just fine. This is why they should extend the loan moratorium for another 6 months. DAP has urged the federal government to extend the bank loan moratorium and interest waivers. Its Secretary General Lim Guan Eng said there have been many complaints about poor business sentiment and economic conditions. According to Lim, the banking industry is capable of shouldering the burden of an extended moratorium and interest waivers. Lim said an extension of the bank loan moratorium for 6 months will help to save lives and livelihoods. He added that this is considering the banking industry recorded 20 billion in profit after taxes last year, even when they had to bear the cost of interest rate waivers and bank loan moratoriums that year. Malaysia continues to lose points in the annual Corruption Perception Index. Malaysia has fallen for the second time in a row in the annual Corruption Perception Index. In the 2021 index, the country dropped 3 points from last year's report. Its score is now below the 50-point mark at 48. The latest index was released by Transparency International Malaysia earlier today. TIM President Muhammad Mohan said the 5-point drop since 2019 is very serious and significant. Mohammed said the score is the more important indicator as the rankings can be affected by new countries being included to the list or other external factors. Among the region, Malaysia appears to be doing well, falling behind only Singapore this year. While Brunei had outdone Malaysia in 2020, the results were unavailable for 2021 due to a lack of data sources. This year, Singapore had a score of 85 points, placing it at 4th place, where it tied with Norway and Sweden. Singapore is also the only Asian country to make it onto the top 10 on the index. Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob has stepped in to clean up a diplomatic mess involving Cambodia. Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob has spoken to his Cambodian counterpart, Hun Sen. This comes after Hun Sen labelled Malaysian Foreign Minister Saifuddin Abdullah as arrogant. Wisma Putra said Ismail Sabri spoke to Hun Sen via video conference at the Cambodian Prime Minister's request. It said Ismail Sabri expressed Malaysia's support for Cambodia's chairpersonship of ASEAN, but also underscored that Putraja's position on Myanmar remained unchanged. Saifuddin had expressed reservations over Hun Sen's decision to visit Myanmar on January 7th while being the chair of ASEAN, stating that he should have consulted other ASEAN members. Saifuddin said it could be perceived as ASEAN giving recognition to the army generals who were responsible for launching a coup against Aung San Suu Kyi's democratically elected government last year. However, Hun Sen reportedly said Saifuddin lacked politeness and should not be too arrogant with inappropriate remarks. Anwar Ibrahim wants all opposition parties to unite to face BN in Johor, and tonight Muda will decide if they take up the offer. Muda President Syed Abdul Rahman said the party doesn't belong to just him and any decision on the Johor state election will be made by the party leadership collectively. He said this includes any decision on whether he would be fielded as one of the party's candidates. On Harapan's aim to rope in all opposition parties, including Muda, to contest in all 56 Johor state seats, he said the party's central leadership will be discussing the matter at a meeting tonight. Earlier today, Johor Muda chief Muhammad Azrul Rahani told Malaysia Kini that talks with Harapan were going well. He said talks with Harapan include identifying the seats that Muda aims to contest. Quizzed on the matter today, Syed Saddiq insisted that Muda will come up with its own stance and fight for the interests of the people of Johor. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Prasad. Thank you for watching.